KJ Weather. Brought to you by Plum Supply.
Plum Supply, kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
Hawkfanatic.com is brought to you by Patrick Eads and his staff at Deary Brothers Ford on Mormon Trek. Steve Anderson, Hawkeye Title and Settlement. Also, Mike's E-Keys for cars. Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip. GT Car, his crew at Supple's Building and Remodeling. Supple's Flowers, home of 1-800-800-ROSE. The Midtown Family Restaurants. Hertine and Stocker Jewelers, 101 South Dubuque Street, downtown Iowa City. Diamond Dreams Sports Academy. Premier Automotive. Dirk Sterner Taxidermy. The Oxyoke Inn in the Amanas. Streets Maintenance. Dr. Lance Forbes, Diamond Dental in Cedar Rapids, and Big Dog Tech Solutions. Here's Tom Suter, along with Pat Harty from Hawkfanatic.com, and Coach Don Patterson.
All right, well, Coach, always great to have you, and it's especially great after a big Hawkeye victory. So some of your thoughts after the Hawkeyes being led to the promised land by a fourth-string quarterback. Good morning, Coach.
Well, there's nothing better than a routine win, and I think you'd have to classify the Maryland win as pretty routine, really. We weren't sweating the game out to the bitter end. It was clear that one team was definitely superior to the other, and the score didn't reflect it maybe as much as it could have, but we'll still take a 16-point win. That's a comfortable win in anyone's book.
Well, it sure is, and Maryland, of course, has really they started off good with 3 straight victories. Actually, I think 4 straight victories, and they've lost. They're 1-7 in the conference. Lost 4 straight. They've fallen on hard times, and they've fallen into the lower portion of the Big Ten. And this year, the Big Ten has got a clear top of 4 teams. Then the next 10 teams are all clustered there, a game or 2 apart, and then you've got the 4 teams that will not be bowling this year. Your thoughts on the parity in the conference this year?
Well, you're right about one thing. We have some outstanding teams. Of course, they're going to be ranked in the playoff scenario very highly, and I think they deserve to be highly ranked. The only unfortunate thing, of course, is so many of those teams haven't even played each other, and that's one reason, of course, they're all highly ranked right now. There's been very few common games involving those top 4 teams.
Yeah, and it does look like the 4 top teams will probably make the playoffs, but we don't know for sure. Now, in your thought, some people said that Indiana needed to have a good showing against Ohio State, and they kind of didn't. So do you feel that the Big Ten has earned the 4 spots in the playoffs?
Indiana would certainly be one of my 12 playoff teams. I think people, the negative vote would simply point out that their schedule hadn't been very difficult at all. And there's some truth there, but let's not forget that they were dominating in those wins over everyone.
Yeah.
And, of course, the one loss in Columbus now, but they're losing to an outstanding team with just a little bit of luck. Of course, Ohio State would have won on the West Coast against Oregon.
Yeah, that was
no
one
crime
point
to
game.
lose to the Buckeyes. They're good. Indiana's deserving. They've played the cards they've been dealt. They can't affect what the other team does. Of course, that's the other team's concern. They can make them look bad, I guess, with how they play against them, and they've done that.
So, hey, good morning, Don. It looked like in that Iowa-Maryland game that Maryland just did not seem interested in matching Iowa's physicality. Did you get that sense? Just from the very beginning, it just was a beatdown.
I did, and then their history, of course, has been to fade as the season plays out.
Yes.
I think the real test of character is how you practice and how you play in November. It's a long season. The guys are beaten up in so many cases. You have some guys like Jay Higgins would serve as a great example to all of teammates that you've got to be able to persevere through tough times. And you got to be able to deal with some nuisance injuries here and there as best you can. And Jay's a prime example of what needs to happen when you do get dinged up a little bit. You need to find a way to fight through it. Everybody has issues. A Maryland fan might say, well, look at all the injuries we had. Well, last time I checked, we got quite a few injuries, too.
Yeah.
And the mentality has to be next man in, and that's what we've done.
Yeah, and I think Kirk does. That's what I actually wrote about my game column, was just Kirk is very resilient. He has a way of – this was a tough bye week, 2 weeks for him, especially this last week with all the distractions. Jamari Harris stuff, he's not available. There was a lot of reasons for this team not to stay the course, and they did, and I think that starts with Kirk. And it's amazing when you think about it. As fun as this Jackson Stratton story is, they basically won that game Saturday without a quarterback doing much of it. He completed just your most basic Division I passes for 76 yards, and yet they still won pretty easily.
Yes, I was proud of Jackson for how he played. There's some things for sure he has to clean up. We can talk about those over the hour. And let's give a lot of credit to Tim Lester.
Sure.
Because Tim, let's blame Maryland for making it pretty easy for Jackson. By that I mean he had a lot of simple throws, what we call underneath cuts, stop routes, out routes, high percentage passes that didn't require a lot of reading on his part. You had off coverage. You threw the ball out in the flat, either with an out route or a stop route, and you might not convert with a 10-yard game, but you certainly put yourself in position to be in second and short, or for that matter, you did convert on third and medium, with the 7-8 yard pass completion. So it was a very clean game in terms of mistakes. We didn't turn the ball over from a passing standpoint for the day, and that's exactly what should happen because they gave us we threw the ball 14 times, most of which were very simple reads, and what most quarterbacks would think of as a very high percentage pass.
Mm-hmm. Which is what you need to do, especially if you're running the ball the way they did. And, of course, Maryland had their issues, but their backup quarterback had more experience than Iowa's. And he actually made that throw he made to Ty Felton in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. That was a big-time throw.
That was a beautiful play, very well executed on their part. He's a very capable passer, and a pretty good runner, too, of course. But we did give most quarterbacks a lot of problems. Need to be able to brag on our edge rushers. The offensive tackles from Maryland really struggle against our edge pressure.
Max Llewellyn.
Sometimes we beat them inside too. With what we call blitz under. We'd start up the field. The tackle would take his pass set, and then we would beat him inside. Mm-hmm. It happened several times. And give a lot of credit to Phil Parker for having some good ingenuity in the game plan. We stemmed a coverage out of a half look after with a 2-deep look. We stemmed into what you would call 3-sky weak. The free safety rolled down the weak side into 3-deep coverage, and that gave us a chance to bring 5, and that was effective. With the 4-man rush was effective. The 5-man rush also worked well, and what you would think of that as a zone blitz, if you will. You've heard that term a lot. Still playing zone coverage in behind. Very sound, but there were other times when we stemmed into cover 2 and took away a lot of the quick throws outside. And that takes some pressure off our corners. As you know, Jamari didn't play. I was pleased with TJ for, I think, playing probably his best game.
Thought he played a good game.
And that's what you would expect a guy to do, You just want players to learn from their mistakes and be better from one week to the next. And I think all of our guys are highly motivated to get that done.
But, it was an impressive win. Maryland is a train wreck, and that's –
yes, they are.
That was Iowa's job to expose what Maryland is right now, and they did. And now they're going to play a Nebraska team that's feeling really good about itself. They stormed the field after getting their bowl eligibility for the first time since 2016, did somebody say?
Yeah, 2016. Can you imagine thinking back to what Nebraska was, storming the field, winning 6 games?
So let's make fun of them for a while. What do you know? I'm kidding.
That's a change.
That's going to be what do you think, Don? You look at this Nebraska game. They shredded Wisconsin. Wisconsin. How's your friends up in Badgerland doing, Don?
Oh, I'm sure they've fastening some nooses and they've had it.
Don, you were able to watch any of that? You probably weren't, were you? Or were you?
Yeah, I do have a T-vote. I haven't had a chance really to watch it. I've seen a few plays here and there. Usually on Saturday night I'll catch up with the Big Ten final drive, to kind of give you a quick summary on all the games. I haven't, I have too. I've done analytics already on that game. My challenge, of course, when I get back in town is got to start working on these 8 games that were played on the weekend, and I've done 3 of them already. I've done the Iowa game, have done the Illinois game. Incidentally, Rutgers won all kinds of parameters in that game, and yet still lost the game to Illinois. And you've heard me say before, Rutgers very seldom beats themselves, but I'm sure in this case they feel like they did.
Don,
strange
that's an
ending.
unusual game to talk about. Icing the kicker at the end of the game, and we know how that all played out, right? You talked about it maybe already.
Illinois and Alabama are both 8-3. Which fan base do you think is happier? I mean, seriously, it's an incredible. Brett's did a good job there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Luke Altmaier, they weren't beating down the door. He's what I wrote. I wrote something today, Don. I think Iowa's number one, and I think it's going to be. It's obvious. Their number one priority going into this office, they got to get some quarterbacks in the portal.
Absolutely.
1 or 2. They got to get them. And if Minnesota, Max Brosmer, I haven't been blown away by him, but I looked at his stats. He's thrown for almost 2,500 yards and 15 touchdowns. If Iowa could get that from its quarterback, that a Max Brosmer, if Minnesota can do it, can't Iowa do it, Don?
Sure. And let's remind everybody that Brosmer came out of FCS football.
New Hampshire, yes.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he threw for like 800,000 yards, but still, there's a big difference. But speaking of that, now I'm going all over the place. I got to mention a basketball thing, Don. My alma mater, Drake University, 4 D2 starters off their Division II national champion. This coach is in his first year, Ben McCollum. They went down and won the tournament down in Charleston, South Carolina. They beat Vanderbilt last night. They beat Miami in the first round. He's got 4 of his starters from his Division II national championship team starting for Drake, including this point guard. Don, they look fully capable of beating a lot of good teams. So that kind of shows you that maybe the levels aren't as bad. Now, granted, we're talking
look at what Signetti has done
in
Indiana.
What do you think about that, Don? You coached at both levels. I mean, how different is it?
Well, I had a linebacker that was at Western Illinois. I said at the time, it was easy for me to say, I said, Eddie Hartwell would be first team All Big Ten if he was playing in the Big Ten this year. And that was proven to be true. He was a great player, had a really good NFL career.
That's right. Okay.
Until he tore his Achilles tendon. And, of course, that's a career-ending injury. But he was an outstanding player for he played with Ray Lewis as a linebacker for the
I do remember the name.
Ravens, yeah.
But you're right, yep.
And I remember telling Eddie when draft time came, he said, any advice for me, Coach? And I said, get the shortest possible contract. And he said, why would I want to do that, Coach? And I said, because your next contract will be the big one.
Good advice.
This first one, you don't really have any negotiation power. But after you play well for the Ravens, you'll have a lot of negotiating power. And that's what happened. He signed a big contract with Atlanta Falcons at the time, one of the highest paid defensive players for sure in the NFL, and then probably got injured. It was never the same. But he had a great career. I think he played about 5 years, as I recall.
I do remember the name.
Yeah. So that's a good example. And now the rest of the story on Eddie Hartwell, he started off at the University of Wisconsin. And he thought he deserved more playing time than what he got, so he transferred to Western Illinois. I'm sure it wouldn't have happened except he knew these coaches at Western Illinois know what they're doing. Coach Patterson was with Hayden Fry for 21 years. So, yeah, he's got a good idea about how to be a head coach. And, of course, we had a lot of success with any number of 1A transfers. So that's and now it works in a different direction. Now, of course, the FCS players can transfer up, and the good ones are doing that in so many cases. We don't have to sign an FCS quarterback, but there are some out there that are good enough to help Iowa and a bunch of other teams too.
Yeah, because I think they need to get 2 if they can. They're going to have to spend a little NIL money. They don't need to spend 12. They're not going to spend millions. I get it.
We don't got it.
But I don't think Minnesota spent millions on Max Brosmer either. They're out there.
I'm sure they didn't.
They got to get him. I'm not saying Brendan Sullivan's not the answer, Jackson Stratton, whatever, but you need more than Brendan Sullivan, Jackson Stratton, and Marco Lane, assuming they all 3 come back.
And we don't know that.
We don't know if they're going to come back. I mean,
right.
But no, I thought Stratton, I will say, as little as he did, he made throwing those out patterns look easier than what Sullivan and McNamara
He did. His arm's stronger than you might expect.
It just looked more routine for him than it does the 2 top quarter. Or am I seeing things, Don?
Well, let's not forget, too, it was a very windy day.
It was.
And if you're playing on a windy day, you need to have a good tight rotation on your pass, and he does have a tight rotation on his throws.
He does.
The ball comes out; it doesn't wobble. He's got a good natural thrower, and of course Tim Lester saw that firsthand out on the West Coast, and that's one reason he decided, let's bring him in, let's make him one of ours. And I was asked a question just yesterday. Do you think we have to give him a scholarship? And my response was, well, if you don't, he'll go somewhere else.
Sure.
You bet.
He may go somewhere else anyway.
Might.
Let's say some school in California. Man, you never know. That's the kind of the beauty and the frustration with the whole thing. And I do want to single out number 65, Logan Jones. I thought he played. It just every time I watched him, Don, he was having his way with that 320, the one the NFL scouts were all there to look at. I thought Logan Jones, Connor Colby, the interior, those guys were, and Mason, Richmond, all of them. They showed Richmond a couple times just destroying his guy. They brought it. They were so physical.
Yeah, we had a lot of good running lanes, and it's kind of ironic that 35 carries, of course, by Caleb. Lots of yardage. The amazing thing about Caleb's numbers, his longest one was 13 yards.
Yeah. But he had a lot of 7 and 8 yarders.
The play we had was the 68-yarder by Kamari.
Massive hole.
But I'll say this about Caleb. He had an incredibly good 7-yard run. And you remember the play I'm going to talk about. There was a lot of traffic. He stiff-armed not one, but two tacklers.
You're right, yeah.
Then he got thrown out of bounds. He still wasn't off his feet. And then we get an extra 15 yards for a late hit.
Nope, you're right about that.
That was a great run.
It was.
And then, of course, Kamari would say, well, the 68-yarder, it really wasn't very difficult because it was so well blocked.
God, it was.
Well, Kamari had two of the biggest plays in the game. One of them not so good, and one of them fantastic.
Because that was his. To me, that handoff looked fine from Stratton, didn't it? Kamari just missed it.
Yeah, it's hard to. They showed the replay, but of course I didn't pay that much attention because the ball was out. I always had the mindset with snaps between a quarterback and a center, for that matter. It's never one person's fault. Let's analyze why the ball was not was on the ground, and let's be sure that if we have any role in that bad exchange, we got to get it corrected. So let's solve it. Let's not point fingers one at the other. Let's solve the thing. Where was our problem with the snap? The same thing would apply to an exchange with a running back. You got to be careful not to just shove the ball at them. Just let them run over the ball, so to speak. So I'm not sure who was more at fault. That's the kind of thing I'll let the quarterback coach and the O-line coach sort out. But there's a chance to get that corrected, of course. I believe the problem was strictly on the exchange, right? It wasn't because the ball came out later.
Right. No, it was on the handoff. It was just it looked like he played, and it just the announcer thought maybe that Moulton was looking up to see where the blocking was to see his hole. But we were right though. It's two people when it's involved. Yeah, it's hard to blame one more than the other. But no, I thought Stratton. He did nothing to lose the game. That's probably the best thing.
And there you go.
He did nothing to lose the game, whereas there's been times this year where McNamara and Sullivan, Sullivan had 3 turnovers in the first half at UCLA.
And Cade had 3 turnovers in a row.
Yes, and Kirk did say that, obviously they're going to start Stratton against Nebraska. And my guess, I'm not even convinced Cade will dress. We'll see. He's going to do all he can. He says that whole thing is just what'd you think of him releasing you heard about him releasing a statement, didn't you, Don?
Yeah, Lisa read it to me. I don't know what to believe at this point. And for that matter with Jamari, as I understood it with Jamari, he had a medical release. He was good to go, they said. And Jamari said, no, I don't think I am. Is that basically how it happened?
Well, Iowa said, because there was a report by 247 saying that he's opting out, that he's done. And I didn't read the story. I don't know who they quoted. And Iowa's saying, because when I reached out to Iowa about it, they're like, well, that's news to us. And then they got back to me later saying Jamari did not make the trip, or he's not, because of they called it a medical issue. So what I think's happening is the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think he's opting out because of medical reasons, doesn't want to take any chances of further injuring whatever he must have, because I'm guessing people are in his ear saying, hey, you've done enough. That's just my guess. So I'm thinking there's truth to both things. It's a medical issue and he's opting out. What do you think?
I think you're right.
Well,
Yeah.
if he's got some professional opinion from somebody called an agent at this point, then I would just encourage Jamari to realize those agents don't know. They know a lot about law, but they don't know a lot about the draft. They're not coaches.
No, you're right. You're right. And I'm just
it's easy for
speculating.
them to say don't play because they're trying to protect whatever investment they
Sure.
might have in the player.
Sure. What's weird about it is Jamari attended Tuesday's press conference, which he often does. He's a great quote, great interview. You know, he's one of the better players. If Iowa knew that if he had told Iowa that he was opting out, they would not have had him show up Tuesday. There's no way they would have. I mean, I just know, and I don't think he would have if he had already opted out or whatever. So I don't know. It's hard. But that's all the kind of stuff Kirk was dealing with this past week, and I thought he had the team ready to play. Now I want to see if you guys noticed. Were you still watching when the game ended?
Yes.
Did you see Kirk on the field after shaking Loxley's hand?
Yes.
Kind of peering around. Am I reading things, or do you think he was looking for Brian, or am I reading into it?
I'm not sure.
Because it looked like he was looking for somebody.
Yeah, it could be.
I couldn't help but notice, of course, correct me if I'm wrong, there was not a single mention of Brian.
Never
in the
early on.
Early on TV, but that was it. And, good for TV.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I thought they were going to beat that thing to death, and they never showed a picture of him in the press box. And it really would not have. It would have been awkward for Maryland because Maryland they weren't ready to play. So to celebrate Brian Ferentz's addition to the Maryland staff in a game where they just looked like crap, it would have been. I'm glad they didn't, though. I'm glad they left that story alone.
Yeah, I am too, and I didn't know what might have happened. Maybe by request, I wouldn't shock me if Kirk would have said, "Please don't make this about Brian and I."
I could see Kirk saying that.
Let's make it about the players and let's discuss the players, and we don't need to talk. We don't need to create any drama between Brian and Iowa at this point. My guess is it might have been by Kirk's request. I don't know that, but he would have certainly been within his rights to suggest to the broadcasters, let's not make that the story because that's not what Brian wants and that's not what we want either.
And I don't think a lot of people care outside of, I think most people don't care. I wanted to ask you, McNamara's statement came out in response to, there was some rumors, rumors that he had quit the team, Tom said it was even not just quit the team, but had told him that he didn't want to play anymore because he's trying to go for his 7th year. And then some media people that I work with called him out very strongly, kind of this whole quit the team type thing. That's why he made that statement, Don. I think he had to do some PR move. Like I said, do you think he's going to play against Nebraska?
I kind of do.
You think he's going to start?
No. I think he will get.
What if Stratton's playing really well and they're just running?
I am hopeful that the game plays out so that Cade will get some time. Because
I'm not convinced he's going to dress.
Well, that's another story.
But Don, just your thoughts. The fact that he had to issue that statement because he was. They were out there.
For sure.
There was people basically saying, "Hey, this guy quit the team."
Well, you heard me say a long time ago, because I've seen a lot of guys go into concussion protocol, and the typical case is that you miss the next game.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a typical medical issue, then typically you're back for the following game. So it's been 4 weeks now, right?
It's been a month.
So this must have been one heck of a concussion.
Well,
but
remember,
it happens.
they said he had a setback in practice either on, I've been told, Sunday or Monday, and he called it an adverse reaction. So there is that. And the other thing, Iowa sent me stuff. They sent me an email late Friday night. Kirk misstated at his Tuesday press conference, saying that he had been cleared to play. He had been cleared to practice. And at first I didn't understand, but there's a big difference between being cleared to practice and play, because when you're cleared to practice, a coach like yourself can monitor how much physical contact they take, right?
Right.
So that's where we are. That's where we are with McNamara. And, Don, if you're Kirk, how do you handle the McNamara situation Saturday or Friday against Nebraska if he's dressed?
Well, Roland, he hadn't played in a month, and we have another quarterback that's been out there practicing and played the last 2 weeks. And I made the comment after the UCLA game. I saw Jackson didn't practice that next week, and I went up to him and I shook his hand, and I said, Jackson, I want to congratulate you. You did just fine against UCLA. And that's how I honestly felt. It didn't look like the moment was too big for him.
No,
he went out there and
he was fine.
My gosh, he made some good plays. He tied the game up again when he went in the third quarter. He had something to do with that touchdown, incidentally. I believe there was a run in there and a pass that was a difficult throwing catch, but and a nice play by Jacob, too, to set up that touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
That was 3rd and 14, as I recall, on the 16-yard line.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of that hole.
I'm not
So
sure.
we did.
And I'm not sure Cade or Brendan could make that throw.
Well,
I'm not sure either.
The ball was perfectly placed, and Jacob made a nice catch. And, of course, he realized even then a gain of 13 is not going to be enough. We're still going to have 4th down. But he fought for the first down yardage and got it. And, of course, I think we scored on the very next play.
Mm-hmm.
So I was proud of Jackson. I thought he gave a good account of himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We
He
didn't
did lose the game
because of his play.
Yeah.
We lost it in spite of his play, really.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't put too much on his plate. I think they did it they handled it just right.
And, Don, I figured they went in there, Lister went in there thinking, please, God, can make it so we can run the ball. Once they realized they could run the ball, it was smooth sailing because they were going to be quarterback one-on-one. Isn't that it? When they realized that they were just owning the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, a lot of fans, of course, were complaining. They said the label the game is boring. I'll take boring any time. If you can run the ball 58 times, I'll promise you, unless you somehow found a way to fumble it 3 or 4 times, you're going to win the game. 58 rush attempts, that's the most we've had since 2017.
Yeah, and Moulton and the running backs are fun to watch. I feel bad for Don Patterson. The few times he was in there just weren't many running lanes for him. Because, you give him a lane, he's going to do the same thing. They all three.
I couldn't help but notice, you're probably aware of the same thing I was, Jazz was the first guy off the bench.
Yes. I can't figure out Liddell's substitution pattern, which is what I like. I think it keeps all 3 of those guys engaged. And Caleb's never tired. I mean, I've seen Caleb take himself, I think he's so comfortable with those other 2 guys. They have no problem putting those guys in at any time in the game, which is nice. It does, but now I'm going to be sort of the poopy side of it. If they just had a average quarterback this year, think about what maybe they could have accomplished.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of those games where the defense wasn't top-notch, maybe they could have outscored the other team with, but like I said, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
It caused me to start thinking about what could have happened maybe last fall.
Well, that's a good point, too. Yeah, Okay, so this game, what do you think Nebraska's a pro? What do you think Matt Rule's going to – how does he think he's going to win this game Friday?
Well, he's going to try to be sure that we don't just possess the ball against them and keep their offense on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to take steps to at least neutralize our run game.
You think they can?
I haven't done all the analytics on Iowa versus Nebraska, and I will. I'll treat that just like a bowl game. In other words, I'll just zero in on their conference games and our conference games. And, of course, now we're up to 16 games, 8 apiece. And I'll go through that same exercise. Who won the parameter, who won the game. What I'm hoping to find, of course, is a parameter that is 16-0, that identified the winning team in all 16 games. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if we find that. I don't know what it'll be. But whatever it is, I'll be sure, of course, that the right people know about it. And incidentally, that has a lot to do with this game. You'll find this interesting in the Maryland game. I don't mind talking about analytics after the game. But the 6 teams that had beaten Maryland, all 6 of them beat them on rushing the football and beat them in the second quarter. And guess what? Iowa outrushed them by 170 yards, to be precise. And we also won the second quarter 10-0, as I recall.
Yeah.
So we joined that elite group of 6 other teams that had also beaten Maryland. And that was a good formula for success. We went into the game knowing we got to commit ourselves to running the ball down their throat. And we didn't know at that moment that we were good enough to get that done, but I think history would say that we got it done very well.
And Maryland knew what I was going to do.
Oh,
there was
sure.
no mystery at all. They just couldn't stop it. At times it looked like they didn't even want to try to stop it, and to me that's a tribute to the Iowa offensive line and with how hard Caleb runs. The tight ends were blocking. God, and Jacob Gill blocks. Don, he's one of the better blocking wide receivers I've ever seen, and he sustains his blocks without holding.
I did have a chance, too, to congratulate him after that UCLA game. And I told him, in no uncertain terms, I said, Jacob, you played a great football game.
He sure did.
6 catches for 138 yards, as I recall.
Yep. Yes.
And he's just such a wonderful young man. You've gotten to know him too.
Yes.
Got a beautiful smile on his face.
Very soft-spoken.
You can tell he's smart. He knows what he wants in life, and he's goal-oriented, and he's going to achieve it. He's going to be a very successful adult someday, no doubt in my mind.
Good fit for Iowa. I mean, I'll tell you what, men's basketball, the women, Kirk, they do a good job. They don't rely on the portal for much, but, man, Lucy Olson, the way she fits in with the women, and Trior and Thilwell, they just do a really good job of adding key people. I mean, Nick Jackson, I wrote this earlier last week. You couldn't find a better fit for Hawkeye football than Nick Jackson. I mean, he is Hawkeye football in so many ways, and that's cool. That's what it's about, Don, surrounding yourself with like-minded people who feel the same way about things and who put the team first.
Absolutely. One of the most key questions you can ask about anybody you might think about bringing into your program, of course, does he fit the culture? Does he have high character? Mm-hmm. Because high character matters to Kirk Ferentz. It matters to all those players that have been on that team for 3 or 4 or 5 years. They know that character is important. And that's one reason we got such a good record in November. Our guys are not going to rest. Even in November, when they're tired and beaten up, they're still going to find a way to get out there and perform better than the other team.
I'm going to look at some other games that were around. I mean, did you watch any of the Iowa State game?
I didn't. We were coming back from, I did a Missouri Valley game last week, so we were driving back, and I heard a little bit of it on radio, but not a lot.
I watched the
I
first
did see
half.
the very end, and as I recall, it was a missed field goal, right, a long field goal that would have made a difference for Utah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Jaden Higgins is as good as any. I mean, he is really good. And I know I'm sounding like Captain Obvious, but they're a fun team to watch. I find myself watching their games just because they're enjoyable. They are. And then I was stunned at what Notre Dame did to Army. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I did not expect that. Did you? I mean, it was.
Yeah, I've got that one TiVo'd also. I haven't seen any of it at all because of the kick time. I was afraid it might happen. That's what they've done to Navy, of course. Now the joke, of course, is, well, Army's a 2-point favorite over Navy because Navy lost 51 to 14 rather than 49 to 14.
I'll tell you, Notre Dame's explosive. They got some really explosive skill players. Their defense is pretty good. I don't know how they lost to Northern Illinois, but, Don, can a game like that, we know it's cliche, we ask about, can that be beneficial in some ways over the course of a season? Because they've been lights out since they lost to Northern Illinois. I mean, how do you explain that?
Yeah, that was a wake-up call for them. Is it hard to imagine that a lot of young men playing for Notre Dame to start the season are thinking, this is no test, Northern Illinois, are you kidding? Well, it's a reminder that anyone can get you if you contribute to the upset, then yes, they can beat you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at Iowa losing to UCLA the way they did. I never would have envisioned that. And it's not like UCLA was on some surge because they went up to Washington and got whipped, that it's inconsistency.
Well,
and then I'm watching Purdue battle against Michigan State, and I'm thinking with a little bit like Purdue's going to win this game.
Yeah. I mean, they were
Purdue
close.
had Illinois on the ropes.
Yes, they did.
So,
yeah.
So, but I feel I'm pretty confident, even with Stratton. I think they're going to be able to. I don't think they're going to run for almost 300. I don't know. I mean, how confident are you, Tom, for about Friday?
I feel pretty good about it. It's going to be a very different game in that the weather's going to be awful.
Suck.
And so, okay. And Donnie, here the question I want to ask you. Okay, Nebraska suddenly or finally is bowl eligible. What difference does that make in a team's mindset coming into the last game? We accomplished what we needed to. We're in a bowl, and now they got one more game to go. How does that affect their mindset in the game Friday?
Well, I think I would rather they be 5 and 6 coming into the game than 6 and 5, simply because 5 and 6 they will have a lot of pressure. They would have had a lot of pressure on them to find a way to beat Iowa on the road in front of a hostile crowd. And speaking of hostile crowds, I know it's hard because I'm going to be cold on Friday night also, but we got to find a way to show up. Don't mail it in and watch it on TV. If you have tickets for the game, show up and be loud and be proud. And do your best to generate a lot of noise because we need a great home field advantage.
Yeah.
That's part of the magic of Kenny, of course, is the fans that are in the stands. And we need to find a way to disrupt Nebraska as best we can.
So, Don, what's your personal opinion on late November night games?
They're ridiculous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm asking that. I'm asking Kirk that same question.
Here, yeah.
In the Midwest and the Northeast.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with them still in North Carolina and stuff and on the West, but in the Big Ten should not be. I mean,
they had that rule for a reason.
Yeah, they had that rule for a reason, Don. They used to not have night games in November. I mean, don't you think the weather is going to be a factor Friday?
Sure. It will be. Now, I don't know what the wind's going to be doing. I haven't looked at the long-range forecast, but I am aware, of course, it's going to be cold. I think the high on Saturday last I saw was 26, maybe.
Yes, that's the last one. It keeps getting lower.
By the time the game ends, it might be in the teens.
Exactly.
Captain's revving something up for us right now.
28 for Friday. For Friday night, a low around 15. And
how about the wind?
We haven't even talked about wind chill yet. What's the wind doing? I don't
know. 5 to 10. So
that's
substantial. Well, at least it's not going to be unusually windy.
Yeah,
and that's the one good thing about an evening game. Typically, the wind is less at night than during the day.
Yes. And, Don, I know they're all big, tough football players, but playing in the cold hurts. It's harder, isn't it? It's just more difficult.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to stay warm enough to play well. Especially imagine you're out there for a 16-play drive. Yeah, you're warmed up and all that, but your extremities still can get cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to imagine you might be cold at the tips of your fingers, and for that matter, maybe your feet are cold, even depending on how much playing time you've had. It's not easy to play in cold weather.
No, and I thought you summed it up. What did you say? I think they're ridiculous. Yes, I think that does pretty much sum it up. And the 11 o'clock game to me after Thanksgiving on Thursday. I remember growing up, you'd wake up on Friday and you'd embrace that 11 o'clock game. Now you have to wait till 6:30. It just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. But it is what it is. Television's going to continue to dominate college football, Don. You know that.
Yeah, you're right. The TV contracts carry so much weight, and we don't. And the TV people, their mindset is, you don't have to like it. You don't want to show up, don't show up. You watch it on TV.
That in some ways,
one more viewer for them.
Good
okay,
point.
and the other thing is, I mean, talking about TV, you used to get 1, maybe 2 games on Friday. There are 15 college football games on Friday.
So it's kind of taken away the appeal of the. Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, but maybe we're all old-fashioned.
Yeah, we tried to. We always wanted to keep Friday night sacred for high school football, and that's gone by the wayside too.
Yep. Yeah, no, and I don't think there's a day that's not eligible for games, or I don't say eligible, but just you know what I mean. That's not desirable for games in the eyes of the TV people. There is no. I don't think any day matters. Now it's whatever they think they can sell to a given market at a given time.
Oh, exactly. This week, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
What's Tuesday?
Tuesday is Toledo at Akron and Kent State at Buffalo.
You know, Don, I read something. These MAC teams. I wasn't aware of how many non-Saturday games those teams play.
Yeah.
Don, they play.
Yeah, even when we were at Buffalo, we played midweek games sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think the way the MAC looks at it, it's a good thing for the MAC.
Exposure.
Simply because it is on national TV. You know, ESPN goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of good exposure for the MAC. And they do. The obvious question is, how do you play on Saturday and then turn around and play on Wednesday? You don't do that. You always have a bye before that Wednesday game. And in that regard, you don't play on consecutive Saturdays, because you might play after 10 days, you might play a game, and then you would play another game for another 11 days. Mm-hmm. So they worked it out so that you don't have to turn around and, and have a 3-day week or something in terms of preparation for the next game.
Now, Don, I have a question for you. This year has been a little bit different. I mean, Kirk Ferentz's tenure has shown that Iowa plays close games, and that Iowa, hangs on, and wins a game at the end of the game. They win the close games. This year, that has not been the case. There's been one close game. That was Iowa State, and we lost it. all the games that Iowa's won have been by 16 or more points. And then the other games other than Iowa State that we lost were not one-score games. Did you have any sense about that?
UCLA was. That was a three-pointer.
20 to 17.
Was it? Okay, so that was. But still, it didn't feel like we were going to win it to me. And it seems to me this season has played out a little bit differently than others.
Yeah, you're right about that. I do think you've always heard me say good teams win the close games. Mm-hmm. And we've been that kind of team. Of course, we've won a lot of close games, a lot more than we've lost through the years.
Yep.
And that's a credit to the coaches and the players that were able to win those close games. But you're right about that. We've had not so many this year. Disappointing. Of course, as a matter of fact, the Maryland game made me think back to the Iowa State game. Here we are in the late third quarter, I guess, and it was, again, a one-score game against Maryland. And I remember thinking, oh, this reminded, here, one of the negatives that we did, one of the few parameters that, matter of fact, it was the only parameter that Maryland won out of the top 15 parameters, was red zone scoring success. They actually beat us on that, primarily because, well, they were down there twice and they had touchdowns both times. As you know, we were down there 5 times and had to settle for 2 field goals. That made me think back to the Iowa State game. Mm-hmm. I remember saying at the half to Lisa, I said, I'm afraid those field goals are going to come back and haunt us.
Yep.
Because with a little bit of luck, we would have been at least 17 on those 3 possessions. Turned out we were only 13, and 13 wasn't enough.
Yeah, and, looking back on the season, if you look at that Iowa State game, all we have to do, in the last 40 seconds is, bat down a pass, put some heat on the quarterback. But Iowa State deserved to win that game. They had 2 great pass plays, and then a guy kicks a 54-yard field goal.
And he's turned out to be a pretty good kicker. I'm not sure if that was just a fluke one time. He looks like he's pretty decent. But, yeah, they made the plays.
I certainly didn't think he would make it.
I didn't either.
Pressure, but he did.
He did.
And credit to him for being a good kicker.
Yep.
And he is another player from the great state of Iowa.
Dubuque, yes. And I read.
Dubuque, right?
Yes, he's from Dubuque. And I did read where right now, with the Big 12 is such a clogged mess right now, but I did read, would it be Arizona State and Iowa State if they all finish 7-2?
I think that's right.
I think that's what I read. If they all finish 7-2, it would be Arizona. That coach at Arizona State has done a hell of a job. And I don't know, who does Iowa State play? Do we know who they played there last week?
Yes.
Who is it? Oh, they play Oh, I thought.
Yeah, K-State at Iowa State.
K-State at Iowa State, Donnie. What do you think?
Well, K-State, of course, that Bill Snyder culture is still in place at K-State, even if Bill's not coaching. Mm-hmm. So the program is in good hands. And as you know, that was another FCS coach that went to K-State and has done a good job.
Yes.
So I think it'll be a challenge to win that game. Iowa State has some of the same issues with the home date. Is their game on Saturday or Friday, I wonder?
It's Saturday.
It's Saturday.
Saturday, okay. Well, same thing with the weather. The weather's not going to be nice. Hopefully it's a day game for them. That'll get the fans to be a little bit more energetic maybe than a night game.
I don't
but
have
it'll be a
the
tough
time.
Game, because K-State typically does not beat themselves. You have to go out and beat them. Yeah. And I don't know what their record is. I know it's decent.
It's okay. They've had a tough year, though. They've lost some games that they normally don't, and it's been sort of a rough year for him.
Yeah, but you've heard me say before, and it really is true. If you have had a disappointing season, you don't want to run into those teams at the end of the year.
Good point.
Because they're thinking the one way we can salvage a disappointing season is to knock off Iowa State. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Iowa State's prepared for their very best effort, and that's what I'll expect that K-State will give them. It'll be a tough game, I do believe, and I have to believe that Iowa State will find a way to win it, just like I feel the same way about us finding a way to beat Nebraska.
So
it won't be easy, but we'll find a way.
Were you surprised that Ohio State had its way with Indiana? I watched parts of it.
Indiana scored the first 7-0.
And then Ohio State adjusted, and then really it was a mismatch. Do I think Indiana deserves to be in the playoff? Yes. Over an 8-3 Alabama? Yes, I do believe. But, Don, were you surprised it was so one-sided?
Not very, to be honest with you. Put it this way, I don't know what the point spread was. I would have taken Ohio State if I was a gambler. I would take Ohio State and give the points. I don't even know what the spread was, but I fully thought that Ohio State would beat them worse than the point spread.
I think it was about 10.5, Don.
If I would have still taken Ohio State.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because Indiana's had a great season and the coaches and players have done a great job, but there's no bigger stage than Columbus, Ohio, especially if you're playing against a highly ranked Ohio State, and of course they are. So it was a little too big a stage for some of those Indiana players, I guess. Sounded like they had an unusually off day in the area of specialty teams.
They did.
But I got to give credit to Ohio State again for making a difference with their return units.
Now I was wrong about Kansas State is 8-3 and 5-3. That's not bad.
Oh no,
that's not bad. They lost a couple close games, but listen to this, Don. Here's the Big 12. Arizona State 6-2, Iowa State 6-2, BYU 6-2, Colorado 6-2, Baylor 5-3, Kansas State 5-3, TCU 5-3, Texas Tech 5-3, West Virginia 5-3, Kansas 4-4, and Cincinnati 3-5. And Kansas may be playing better than anyone in the conference right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Kansas has 3 wins over top 25 teams now.
First time ever that a non-ranked team.
Isn't that something?
They were 2-6, and now they have a chance to be bowl eligible with a win on Saturday.
And they looked good.
Oh, man. Did you watch any of the Colorado game? You probably didn't because you were busy, right?
I did not.
But, yeah, I watched part of that. They looked good. They basically did to Colorado what Iowa did to Maryland.
Yeah,
but
they did whatever they wanted to do.
Their running back ran for over 200 yards. They just won the line of scrimmage. It was impressive. And Deion said afterwards, I mean, we didn't rise to the occasion. I mean, he made no excuses. Kansas won that game. Now, Travis Hunter was great.
Yes, he was.
He's an amazing player. He really is. But no, 8-3.
He's still playing more than 100 snaps every weekend.
Yes, close, but they held him back a little bit. But yeah, he still. There was one point where he was in the first quarter on the sideline saying, "Get me the ball." So what do they do the next play? They throw him a little screen pass in the flat, and he goes 60 yards for a touchdown. I mean, he is. Yeah. He's special, isn't he?
I would vote for him to win the Heisman. I think he deserves it.
Well, I vote, and we're not supposed to reveal our votes, but I think there's a good chance he'll have my. Is it between him and Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we've never seen anyone do what he's doing. He's like the Ohtani from baseball. I mean, he really is. But no, that was
the guy from Michigan that won the Heisman. I can't remember.
Charles Woodson. And the comparison is Woodson had 11 catches, I believe, for like 230 yards as a wide receiver, and all of his deep
spotted very little on offense, but he was effective when he was in.
He was effective, but Hunter's on course for 1,000 receiving yards. He's one of the top.
Incredible.
Right.
Yeah, it's incredible what he's doing, and he's a lockdown corner. I mean, no, he's a hell of a football player. And he has to play another year in college because the NFL won't. You have to be 3 years out of high school, but he is clearly ready for the NFL. So, but okay, as far as
like that Ohio State receiver that's a freshman.
Yes, yeah. To think that he's got to play 2 more years in college before he can. What do you think of that rule, Don? I know we're going all over the place, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that. The 3 years out of high school.
Well, I mean, there are basketball players, of course, that go to the NBA as maybe even still as a teenager.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There are cases that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Frankly, if you took it into our court system, you would think maybe that the Supreme Court would rule in favor of the individual.
Oh, I think they
what
would.
do you mean? I don't have an opportunity that I deserve? If I'm good enough to play as a professional athlete, why isn't it against my liberty to deny me to do that? You would think maybe they might win that court case. Maybe not.
No.
I'm not a lawyer, but it does seem a little bit unfair. If you're good enough to play in the NBA as a young player, then aren't there some college guys that go to the NBA after 1 year?
Oh, yeah. Tons of them do.
I mean, Wembanyama did it last year.
I think what the NFL would say is, well, that's apples and oranges because our sport is way more violent and physical. I think they're doing it as they're trying to let these guys become men more.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's their rationale behind it. But I'm with you,
safety.
Don. But there's some of these kids that need money, that need to help their families. And if they have, to me, I think they should still have the rule, but be able to maybe have exceptions if these guys. But then you open up Pandora,
exactly,
and that's the problem. I don't know if there's a balancing act with this, but I'm with you. I think it is a violation of your civil liberties that prevents you from earning a living.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Hey, on the subject of Saturday's game, let's talk about a couple of things we can learn from the game that are a little bit unusual. Let me take you back to the end of the third quarter.
Okay.
As you recall, we let the clock run down, and we took a timeout, and that made complete sense because it gave us a chance to kick with the wind. And, of course, Drew, we haven't even talked about Drew. It was an incredible day for Drew.
Sure was.
I wish that 49-yarder would have been something over 50.
It would have been good from
70.
60. Yeah, I mean,
three field goals over 50.
it was incredible how much leg he got into that.
Yeah. But anyway, here's my point. The mistake we made, we let the clock go down to 4 seconds. And I remember, I do admit, even though I coached for 37 years, I'm thinking now that 4 seconds is going to be out when that ball goes through the uprights. So my question, I wasn't even sure. I thought, no, it makes sense. It's got to be the first play of the fourth quarter. The kickoff would be the first play of the fourth quarter. And, of course, I was right. Now we have to turn around and kick into the wind. And so the mistake we made, we should have, let's put it this way, that wind was such an advantage in the third quarter, we should have taken that time out immediately, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree.
After that failed third down, because then we would know for a fact we're going to have the wind on the field goal, we're going to have the wind on the kickoff, and Maryland's going to have to at least snap the ball once into the wind before they get to enjoy the wind in the fourth quarter. So it was a mistake to let the clock go down to 4 seconds. Forced us to kick into the wind. You probably remember what happened. That's the ball that of course, it was going to be held out. My fear was that they might run it back. But the ball, of course, ended up bounding off the field. And I'm sorry, it died on the field. But the guy was smart enough to feel the ball standing with one foot out of bounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was a very wise play on his part.
No,
Most
that
people
was.
aren't aware of that, but that gives you a chance, of course, to get the ball under 35.
No, that's a good point. That was a wise play, and I know the announcers pointed that out. And speaking of wise plays, did either of you see James Franklin's Penn State's fake punt against Minnesota?
I did not. I didn't see any of that game.
It won the game. I mean, did you see it, Don? Did you see a replay of it?
I did.
What did you think?
I did. I got the call, and you've heard me say, Hayden's greatest call of all time. That's easy for me. It's not even an offensive play. It's the fake field goal against Illinois when we're up by 3 touchdowns. But Hayden knew Illinois got a really good offense. It's going to take a lot of points. And you remember the game I'm talking about, 1990 or 91? Which year?
90. That's where Nick Bill and you guys went in there at Champaign and just steamrolled.
Just killed
54-28.
Well, I do remember vividly. We had 4 touchdowns and 4 possessions. We got 28 points. And Illinois finally stops us, they think. And then we run the fake field goal for another touchdown.
Yeah. Man,
to make 35. And the final that day was something like 54-28.
54-28. That was a really good Illinois team. Mill, AG. I mean,
yeah, we needed a lot of points. That was the showdown for the Rose Bowl.
That was Nick Bill was just incredible that day, and I remember that game specifically because I was working at the Register at the time, and I was covering a high school swim meet and trying to watch the game in the lobby, and I was paying more attention to you guys beating up on Illinois than I was the swim meet, Don. And when it came time for me to write my story, I didn't have as much information as I probably needed because I was watching Hawkeye football. I was 24, 20.
You've heard me say, talking about preparation for a game. The preparation for that Illinois game started way back in February.
Really?
We spent time working on Illinois because they had such a good field defense. Back in those days, we had the wider hash marks. The field was the third and the third back then. So they had a great field defense. Incidentally, I ended up with the privilege of coaching with Lou Tepper at Buffalo, one of the finest coaches that I've ever known. And he was the architect of that defense. And but we solved that defense with all that work we had back in the winter months, and we were ready for them then. And,
you sure were.
And the bottom line, you didn't want to line up with pro to the field against that defense. We didn't line up pro to the field. We lined up pro into the boundary. Some we lined up with other formations to the field. But Ohio State, it was kind of comical. Ohio State would play all day with pro to the field, and they never could figure out why Illinois defended it so well. Well, it's because they had a good field defense, an overloaded defense to the field, and Ohio State simply played into their hands by playing all day with pro formation to the wide field.
Don, I got one last question before we wrap up. It's been another fun and quick hour. Do you think Tim Lester and Kirk will give, assuming Stratton's the guy, will give him more room, more freedom to throw the ball, more opportunity, or do you think it's going to be the same thing? Let's just see if we can win it running and just have Jackson do enough. What do you think? Do you think there'll be a progression at all?
Well, I certainly think that Jackson may have an expanded role. Yes.
Okay.
And simply because maybe we can't afford to be limited with our pass offense.
That's what I wonder.
And still win the game. It was fine against Maryland. We don't know that that's going to get the job done on this Friday.
Okay.
I think it depends how the game plays
I'm
out.
sure there's going to be a plan involving more passes down the field for that matter. And if we need to ask him to do more things, he's going to be prepared to do it. He still hadn't done a lot of that in the game itself, but I can bet money that the preparation is going to involve some more daring throws than simple outs and stops and nakeds and things like that. You know, we're going to have some other plays that are designed to gash Nebraska as needed.
Yeah, I think Nebraska right now is a much better team than Maryland.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, Tom, anything else? Don, great stuff as usual. Hopefully next Monday after Thanksgiving, we were talking about 8th win, and Tom getting ready for another trip to the Outback Bowl.
If we go to the Outback Bowl, I'll be going.
Or Citra. What about
ReliaQuest? No, I don't think we can go to the Citra.
No, I don't think it's
because we've been there a couple.
So the
times.
Outback is now the ReliaQuest,
yes.
Right? There you go. Another trip to Tampa. They never get old. So hopefully, Don, you going anywhere for Thanksgiving?
No, we're going to be right here across town with our daughter.
Okay.
And we look forward to that. You know, she's gonna prepare Thanksgiving dinner for us.
Oh, okay.
And that doesn't happen too often. And when I say prepare, I'm not sure she's going to do all the work in the kitchen. Some of it might be imported from someone else.
Nothing wrong with that,
sure.
especially
I'm not
if
going to hold that against her because she's very, very busy with her job. You know, she's got a very demanding job in medicine. So I know her workload is significant, and it's worked out well for her. So I'm really proud of her. She's just a wonderful young lady, and
well, that's good.
And
that's great.
All the credit goes to her and her mom because
don't sell yourself
they
short.
raised her more so than I did. I wasn't always there, as you know. That's the life of a football coach. You're spending a lot of time with someone else's children when they're in college, but you do sort of sacrifice to not see your own child as often as I would have wanted. But she's turned out great regardless of my involvement. And all credit to her and all credit to her mom.
Well said, Don,
Yep.
and have a happy Thanksgiving, and we look forward to talking to you again next Monday.
Thank you, Coach.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
Yep. And we will take a break ourselves.
And, hey, I have to leave. I can't go past 10:30 today.
Well, we're not going past 10:30.
Oh.
I don't want to go past 10:30 either.
Well, usually you tell me, apologize because, you think I'm going to be crushed.
I think sometimes you
You
are
think
crushed.
that, hey, you're not going to be able to be on here for 2 hours today.
Two and a half.
Like you're breaking my,
Breaking
But
your
no,
stride.
I have stuff I got to do. So we'll just end it. Can we just end at 10:30?
We can
Remember those days?
Yeah, we could end it right now.
Yeah. What will you do for the next half an hour?
Play music.
Play really good music.
We have the Wall of Shame back there, Pat.
It's looking at saying, "Play me, play me." It's like Neil Diamond. You like that song by Neil Diamond? Play me.
No.
Sucks.
From the Hertine and Stalker Studios in the heart of the Hawkeye Nation, this is the mighty 1630 KCJJ, Iowa City.
Hurting and Stalker Jewelers, making memories, making moments.
Cloudy and a little breezy this morning, becoming partly cloudy and a little less windy by later this afternoon. Temperatures, they're going to be dropping throughout the day today as well, from the 40s this morning into the low to mid-30s by later this afternoon. Tonight, clear 23. Tomorrow, partly cloudy 40. Some rain and snow on Wednesday with a high in the low 40s. Then it is going to get much colder with highs in the 20s and 30s by the holiday weekend. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable on the mighty 1630 KCJJ. Currently, it's 42.
KCJJ Weather, brought to you by Plum Supply.
Plum Supply kitchens and baths. Your home never looks so beautiful.
1-800-800-ROSE. 1-800-800-ROSE. Your FTD florist is the only number you need to know to send flowers anywhere in the country or Canada from anywhere in the country. 1-800
1-800-800-ROSE.
It's so easy. Just remember one number, 1-800-800-ROSE, your FTD florist.
1-800-800-ROSE.
Remember,
For a gift that your loved one will treasure for a lifetime, find it at our family-owned jewelry store in Iowa City, Hertine and Stocker Jewelers.
We can show you diamond engagement rings, colored stones, fashion jewelry, and watches.
Our jewelers are on site so we can design jewelry for that special person in your life.
We are Hertine and Stocker, serving Iowa City and the surrounding area for 3 generations.
Hertine and Stocker Jewelers, downtown Iowa City, and HertineandStockerJewelers.com. Ask for Willa, Terry, Tim, or Kate. One of us is always there.
Don't wait for an emergency to get a backup for your car keys. Unlike the olden days, car keys have gotten extremely complex. Mike's eKeys for Cars can generate the most technically advanced automotive keys that are on the market today. For spares and lost keys, Mike's eKeys for Cars can produce most conventional transponder, high security, and remote head keys. Mike's eKeys for Cars will keep you on the road. Call 319-330-9185 and schedule an appointment today. Don't wait until it's too late. Call 319-330-9185 today.
Hi, this is Jill Sterner with Sterner Taxidermy in Lone Tree. It's hunting season again, and I'm inviting all of you hunters to follow us on our Facebook page. You can view Dirk's award-winning artistry, his workmanship that he completes with each individual piece. We can be reached at 319-330-1774. Again, 319-330-1774.
Are you tired of living in a home that doesn't quite meet your needs? Then it's time to call the experts at Streets Maintenance. Their team of skilled professionals specializes in renovations and remodeling, transforming your home into the space you've always dreamed of. From kitchen bath remodels to complete home renovations, no job is too big or too small. Streets Maintenance will work with you every step of the way to ensure your vision becomes a reality. So don't wait any longer. Call Streets Maintenance to schedule your consultation at 400-4483. Let's start building your dream home today.
Once upon a time in the land of the Hawkeyes, a business grew. A business that would become synonymous with real estate. Hi, I'm Steve Anderson of Hawkeye Title and Settlement. When you're buying or selling your home, you'll need title and settlement services. Consider the Hawkeye Title and Settlement team. Give us a call at 351-8600. Hawkeye Title and Settlement, the team you love, the people you trust.
Looking for the perfect place to host your next private party? Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip offers your guests the ideal setting that seats up to 80 people for special events ranging from retirement parties, birthdays, University of Iowa departmental parties, dinner rehearsals, corporate events, graduations, baby showers, reunions, and fundraisers. Forget the bland, lifeless hotel ballrooms. Tavern Blue offers 4 private party packages featuring delicious foods, amazing drinks, fun entertainment, a large venue, and easy booking. For more information on your next party room, drop by Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip or contact them on their website, tavernblue.com. Eat, drink, and play at Tavern Blue.
Don't let just anyone take care of your smile. At Diamond Dental, you can expect compassion, expertise, and a personalized care plan to protect your teeth for life. With more than 30 years of combined experience, Dr. Forbes and his staff are prepared to tackle even your toughest dental problems, leaving your smile healthy and sparkling. Diamond Dental offers a full range of general and cosmetic dentistry, as well as dental treatment options for snoring and sleep apnea. It's never too early to start thinking about what's best for your smile. Schedule an appointment today by calling 319-390-3703 or visiting the office at 5815 Consul Street Northeast, Suite D1 in Cedar Rapids. You can also visit DiamondDentalPC.com for more information. Dr. Forbes is a proud sponsor of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club and the Inner Circle. Let the Diamond Dental team provide superior care for your entire family.
This is Leah Pasha, and I've been saying, hit a deer, call Premier, for years. But it's time for something new. It's still where you need to go for deer divots and door dings, as well as damaged dashboards. That's what my dad Nathan's driving at and dreams about. Why not say, when your car is dinged, be a deer and call Premier? I think Dad's going to love that. Premier Automotive, North Liberty's premier auto body repair shop.
Be a deer and call Premier Auto Body in North Liberty. When you go to a family restaurant, you want three things. One, a wide selection of breakfast, lunch, and dinner items. Two, you want those selections to be affordable and delicious. And three, you want to be treated like family. You get all three at the Midtown Family Restaurant. Breakfast items available anytime the doors are open. Legendary tenderloins, onion rings, and hot roast beef sandwiches. And special ribeye and shrimp nights. Daily specials at each location. And no matter if you're coming in solo or with a group of 20, you get the same special family treatment. The Midtown Family Restaurants at Court and Scott Streets and at the Walmart Plaza on Highway 1 West. Follow them on Facebook or at MidtownFamily.com. The family's waiting for you.
Looking for the perfect place to host your next private party? Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip offers your guests the ideal setting that seats up to 80 people for special events ranging from retirement parties, birthdays, University of Iowa departmental parties, dinner rehearsals, corporate events, graduations, baby showers, reunions, and fundraisers. Forget the bland, lifeless hotel ballrooms. Tavern Blue offers 4 private party packages featuring delicious foods, amazing drinks, fun entertainment, a large venue, and easy booking. For more information on your next party room, drop by Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip or contact them on their website, tavernblue.com. Eat, drink, and play at Tavern Blue.
Diamond Dream Sports Academy, 20,000 square foot indoor facility, holds 8 batting cages, space for infield work, space for throwing and pitching, and all your arm care needs. Offers private instruction, group lessons, camps and clinics, leagues, memberships. Rentals available at Diamond Dreams is open to the public.
Our top level instructors include former professional, college, and Olympic athletes. Our coaches will help these athletes achieve their full athletic potential, develop a strong work ethic, and a solid base to build. The last thing you want to do is look back and wish you had worked or played harder.
Locally owned and established in 2005, Diamond Dreams is Eastern Iowa's premier training facility. Located at 2905 Stoner Court, North Liberty. Call today and reserve your time. 319-665-2173. 319-665-2173.
GT Carr, owner of Supple's Building and Remodeling, has been offering unmatched service and quality for over 25 years. The trained professionals at Supple's Building and Remodeling will install and guarantee the products used in any job, no matter how big or small. They also stand behind their work and offer no-nonsense, exceptional customer service from design to completion and beyond. Whether it's a simple window replacement or a major house addition, you'll have the confidence that Supple's Building and Remodeling is committed to quality. Visit Supples.net or call them today at 319-337-2246.
When someone is kind enough to share their time with us, we better make it worth their while.
They don't want to do the, people call it the game, right?
Patrick Gades and Terry Adams of Dairy Brothers Ford talk about what Here For You means to them.
You don't have to spend a half a day in our dealership to get that good competitive price. We just want to try to deliver that to you up front.
And that makes me feel good, makes me proud.
Because that's what people want. They want a fair, honest deal.
As far as a statement Here For You, we want to not just say it, but live it.
Find out what it means to you at Deary Ford in Iowa City.
Football fans, this is Bill Leixenring of the Oxyoke Inn. We are on your way to or from the game. We're ready to serve you with the same quality food and customer service you've come to trust for over 80 years. The Oxyoke Inn is serving our famous Sunday brunch buffet with lunch, dinner, banquets, and carry-out daily. From our Oxyoke family to yours, we can't wait to see you again soon in the heart of Amana.
The Oxyoke Inn. Happy holidays, 1630 KCJJ.
We're back.
We are. Officially back.
For a short little clip here. We've got about 13 minutes.
All right.
Jesus.
Well, let's get right to it.
Let's get right, Captain. Come on. Come on. Why don't you do your part?
I did my part. I just killed that fly.
Really?
Yeah, with my finger.
Good work.
You're like Ralph Macchio in The Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Remember when you did it with the chopsticks?
Yeah, only I did it with my finger, and it was dying.
Mr.
Anyway.
Miyagi called it beginner's luck.
Hello.
You like that impersonation?
Sure.
That's Mr. Miyagi.
Hello.
Hey.
What did you think of the women yesterday?
I thought the basketball, right?
No, she just meant just the women in Iowa City in general.
The soccer.
I thought Washington State was terrible.
Soccer, they lost.
Washington. They lost 1-0. Washington State was one of the worst Division I, Power 5, Power 4 I've ever seen.
They were not good.
They were horrible, but Iowa made them look horrible.
Tall.
Well, she was horrible. She couldn't make a layup.
No.
How about the poor number 11 for them, the left-hander, Abraham? I felt bad for her because she traveled every time she got the ball.
Yeah.
She just, I mean, they were terrible.
They weren't very good.
They made a couple lucky shots in the first quarter. That's why they led. But once Jan had a little chat with them between the first and second quarter, and they picked it up. And
they scored.
They scored 4 in the second and 5 in the third.
Yeah, 9 points in 2 quarters.
Yeah, they outscored them 20-4 in the second quarter. That was the game. It was basically over then.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the soccer team played well, but they lost.
They did. I actually watched the second half.
Yeah, I got to go home and post that. I had computer problems this morning.
It was 0-0. We had a shot. We had a shot on goal that hit the post.
What a career for Macy and King, though.
Yes. Yeah.
The guy. No, this soccer program has a lot to be proud of. I mean, it's tough you lose under those circumstances, but I mean the other team's good too. But no, hats off for a great season.
Yep.
Okay, well.
And Iowa Wrestling won.
Have a good day, guys.
All right.
Thanks, Karen.
Iowa Wrestling won 21-15. That's a little deceiving because that Ja'Cory Teamer it sounds like he injured his hamstring and had to do a medical. So there's a shift of 6 points right there. I was the heavyweight match. I was surprised Keeter lost 7-2, but I talked to Lance, and Lance, Ben's still pretty young. These guys that are beating on him are 3 and 4 years older, and that makes a big difference.
Sure it does.
And what have you. So, but it's not easy, man, being a heavyweight wrestler. It's tough.
Hello.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. It's John Balmer. I wanted to weigh in on the Washington State-Iowa game yesterday. That Washington State coach, I swear they could have teed her up several times.
They probably felt sorry for her.
Huh?
I didn't feel sorry for her. They probably felt sorry for her as her team sucks.
She complained about every call.
She was a complainer.
Oh, my God. One official, I thought she was about ready to, she looked at her, and I think she said a few things, but she never let up. But, yeah, that was not a very good Washington State team.
It wasn't.
I was a little surprised.
I was, too. Yeah, I was surprised at how bad they were.
Well, they lost by 4 to Texas Tech.
That's the only thing
Whatever
they gave me.
that means.
But then they lost by 30 to Stanford.
Yes, they did.
And
Stanford ain't all that.
No. And Iowa did what they should do against a really bad team. They destroyed them.
And that's good. I mean, our defense is much improved.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're playing defense this year, so we're going to have to, as we're not going to score 90 points every game.
Well, they're not going to go 2 of 17 from 3 every game either. But, I mean, Kylie Feuerbach, bless her heart, she is mentally now, shooting-wise, she's not there.
I feel sorry for her.
I mean,
But she's a good defender, though.
She is, and she can dribble. She can defend multiple positions. But, man, at some point, she's going to have to make some shots.
She's got to make some.
And
her confidence level is down, I think. So
one of our 2 3-pointers was a bank by Jada Jimfy. So,
and got the loudest cheer in the arena.
Too is Tremlow. She's tough.
I like her. I like her game. She's got a little Caitlin in her. That no-look pass. No, I like her game, and I think it's good they got Aaliyah Guyton in some action because they need another point guard.
Yes, they do.
Lucy needs to be able to play off the ball more than she does. I mean, and I think they're easing Aaliyah into it, but between Aaliyah and Taylor, those are 2 good point guard options.
Yep.
Oh, for sure. Aaliyah's just rusty. She hasn't had any opportunity, but I like Tremlow because she reminds me of Falter, where she battles for rebounds.
She does.
Yeah. No, she's very Sid-like.
But Kylie right now, her 2 3-point attempts, neither one hit the rim.
Oh my God, they didn't even draw iron. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
It's mental with her right now, big time.
Yeah, I felt sorry for her. I really like her a lot. I've always liked her.
And Taylor McCabe's not getting hardly any shots either.
No, and the ones she's getting, she's not making.
Yes.
No, and I noticed they were really on her.
Well, that's her reputation.
You bet.
But you watch, they're going to be sagging way off of Feuerbach because they know she can drive, but they're not going to let her do that now. It'll be interesting to see what Rhode Island does on Thursday.
Yeah, won't that be? That's for sure. So, anyway, I was going to let you guys know I went up to All-State Music this Saturday. I had to miss the Iowa State Wrestling because my grandson was in All-State Music at Ames, which I'm very proud of. But I had to go to Hilton Coliseum and see him and look at all those Cyclone banners. My God, being a Hawkeye fan, that was hard.
Yeah, they've had success in basketball.
They have.
Yeah, those
two good programs.
I saw the banners for the coaches, Nichols or that were there up there, and I'd forgotten. It's been almost 40 years since Harold Nichols coached wrestling, which I'd just forgotten. He was the icon of wrestling, and of course everybody thought Gable was going to stay there until we got him out from underneath the Cyclone tent. But that was good. But no, Hilton's a good venue.
It really is.
It is.
It is.
Yeah. So it's very enjoyable. The talent level we have in this state for high school is unbelievable.
Well, what about this Drake point guard, this Katie Dinba?
Katie Dinba,
I
like her.
She had 40 against Iowa, and what'd she have against Iowa State, 38?
Did she really?
Did Drake beat him?
No, Iowa State beat Drake by 2 points. But Finley said afterwards, and he mentioned Caitlin. He just said, he goes, I've coached against a lot of great players, and he mentioned Caitlin. But he said that Maya McDermott's performance and what Dennemeyer did yesterday was as good as anything he's ever seen.
Yeah, Katie Dinnerbeer's.
She's incredible.
I was hoping to get her, but we got Lucy instead.
I didn't know anything about her. I don't follow Drake women's basketball. Probably
I didn't either.
I knew nothing about her.
Oh, 2 years ago, guys, she held her own with Caitlin, and she was real. They almost beat us. It went to overtime.
Yeah, no, she's. I mean, I've heard people say that she might be able to play in the WNBA. She's that good.
She's good.
Yeah, she was impressive. Boy, she lit it up against us too. That's for sure.
She's not very tall, which is
that's going to be, I think, what is her big. I mean, because I've said before, how tall is Caitlin? 6 feet.
Yeah.
Maya McDermott, I've been told, is like 5'5", 5'6". Yeah, Caitlin at 6 feet with those long arms. She was
long arms,
built to play basketball.
No, it's great. Well, our women's basketball is a lot of fun to watch.
It sure is.
It is. And I like the 3 o'clock game. I was out of there by 6:20 yesterday.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, that's great.
I know.
We were home by 5:05, I think.
No, I love the 3 o'clock. I would love it even better if it was 1 o'clock.
I know it would too, but I think Jan Jensen's done a great job.
She has.
So far.
Now it's going to get tougher. They're going to lose some games.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see.
You got to expect it. UCLA beat at South Carolina.
They did.
And Don Staley said it was a masterpiece on how to beat us. I mean, she was very complimentary.
I'm not thrilled about having them or USC.
Oh, no.
Well, we get to play them here, both of them.
Yeah.
Good.
And but USC's had some close calls.
Yeah, they have had.
They've played some tough competition.
They have. It'll be fun.
Iowa still hasn't really played. I think Drake might be the toughest game Iowa's played.
Drake was very tough. Virginia Tech's not all that.
No, and Kansas isn't very good, and Washington State is horrible. But that's not Iowa's fault.
Will be good. I'm not discounting them.
No, I'm not either. They're struggling a little bit right now. I didn't think that they would lose to UNI, and I didn't think they'd barely beat Drake.
I didn't either.
No, they're struggling a little bit right now.
Yeah, I was happy for Tanya Warren up at UNI, frankly, to get a signature win.
No, that was a nice win for them. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, gentlemen, have a nice Thanksgiving.
All right, Johnny, you too,
John. I'm surprised that you're in town. The president is pardoning turkeys, so I.
Wow.
Oh, boy, you've just been waiting to say that.
Harsh.
I got to tell you guys, I was picked to be on the recount for Johnson County for the congressional. I was the two campaigns picked me as the third person. So Friday spent 10 hours, Saturday 3.5 hours, and then Wednesday morning we're going to finish it up. But we confirmed the count. The machines do it, and so far there has absolutely been no change, no deviation. So our county here is really run very well.
So it's not rigged and a hoax.
No, don't believe
deep state infiltration, woke. All right, good to hear, John. Appreciate your work.
Hey, have a great.
All right,
thanks, man.
I'm glad John does that because, man, I'd rather kill myself than have to go and count stuff. God. Could you imagine that?
Oh my God!
There's so much about politics that is just miserable.
No,
but you need people to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, it's 10:30.
No, it isn't.
It's 10:27.
Oh, so 3 more minutes. What do we do for these last? What do we do these last 3 minutes, Kat? What do you want to talk about?
Well, we talk about the big game tomorrow night
against
Iowa versus Upskirt. What's
Upstate? They beat somebody. They beat someone the other day. I saw it on ESPN. Yeah, I haven't looked into Upstate yet.
I don't think you're going to need to look very hard.
I'm not going to write in advance. I'm going to put an info box together. I'm not writing in advance for Upstate. You know.
And that's
what about
tomorrow's Ann's and my anniversary, so we have to have a hard discussion about it.
No pun intended.
Do we really want to be watching Iowa in upskirt?
No,
or do we want to do something
romance.
else?
You want to have romance and candlelit dinner and wine and scotch and beer and.
Sounds good.
And the FBI's there on.
Sounds good.
Are you going to go out?
Well, not if we're going to the basketball
Don't
game.
go to the basketball game on your end. Come on.
I know. We just hate to not go.
Have a candle at Tenderloin.
Yeah, I think they can win against Upstate without you guys. You can, but I think you guys. I'm thinking dark candlelit dinner and just let romance just shine. Don't you think?
Sounds
good. It's all about romance, isn't it, Captain?
It's all about that.
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds like a good
I'll
plan.
be there for you in spirit. I am covering the Upstate game tomorrow night.
You're going to be there?
Oh, well, somebody has to be, and Dallas ain't going to be there. What time is it, 7?
Yeah.
Okay, at least it's not 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd rather have it be 4 or 3 in the afternoon, but you can't play it. Imagine parking at 3 in the afternoon over there. Okay. All right, everybody, have a good day.
All right, and thanks, as always, to Coach Don Patterson. Tommy Lang and Captain Steve are next with the police reports. Hawkfanatic.com. Check it out. It's free.